Chosen one, anchor your spirit to what I am about to say right now. That restlessness you have been carrying, the one that wakes you up before the sun rises and sits with you long after everyone else has gone to sleep. Stop running from it, because that is not anxiety. That is a calling. The enemy has been working overtime this week for one reason and one reason only. He knows that you are standing at the exact coordinates your destiny was mapped to before you ever took your first breath. It all shifts now. The confusion, the feeling of being out of place, the sense that your life has been moving but not arriving. It ends here. Not because of luck, not because of coincidence, but because of what you have been doing in the quiet. The praying no one saw, the obedience no one applauded, the staying when everything inside you was screaming to leave. Think back to that moment this week when you felt completely out of sync with the world around you, when you sat in a room full of people and felt like you were watching life from behind glass, close enough to see it, but separated from it by something you could not explain. You thought something was wrong with you. You thought you were falling behind. You thought God had forgotten to open the door. But let me tell you what was actually happening in that moment. Heaven was separating you. You did not find this message by accident. The algorithm did not bring you here. God did. This is a divine appointment written into the architecture of your life before the foundations of the earth were laid. You are not stumbling into this. You are arriving. Stay until the very last second of this message. In the next few minutes, I am going to hand you the decree that confirms your assignment was never cancelled. I am going to walk you through the evidence hidden inside the moments you thought were wasted, so you can see exactly where God was positioning you even when it felt like He had gone silent. And at the end, I am going to give you the declaration that seals this season and opens the door you have been standing in front of for years. Do not scroll past this. The version of you that has been on their knees asking God if any of this was real, this is where they get their answer. If you leave now, you leave before the verdict is read. I know what the last several days have felt like. The atmosphere has been layered, heavy in a way that is hard to describe to someone who has not felt it, like the pressure in your ears when you descend too fast, that sensation that something is shifting, but you cannot locate the source. Maybe you found yourself standing in your kitchen this week, staring at nothing, mid-task, overwhelmed by a feeling you could not name. Or maybe you woke up at 3 in the morning, and instead of going back to sleep, you just lay there in the dark with your eyes open, thoughts moving like water, not loud thoughts, not panicked thoughts, just a deep, ancient knowing that something is about to change. You feel like you are between two worlds, like the old version of your life no longer fits, but the new one has not fully materialized yet. And in that in-between space, the enemy has been whispering a very specific lie. He has been telling you that the reason you feel displaced is because you made the wrong choices. He has been replaying specific moments, that relationship you ended, that opportunity you did not pursue, that season when you withdrew and went quiet and let the world move without you. He's been pointing to those moments and telling you that your destiny was derailed, that the life you were promised passed you by while you were not paying attention, that the window closed and you missed it. But I need you to hear what the scripture actually says about this moment. Jeremiah 1:5 says, "Before I formed you in the womb I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart." Listen to the weight of that promise. Before you made a single decision, before you had the chance to succeed or fail, to obey or disobey, to step forward or step back, God already knew you. God already set you apart. God already wrote the assignment, which means the enemy's entire argument collapses. You cannot disqualify a destiny that was authored before you existed. You cannot delay a calling that was sealed before your first breath. You cannot lose a position that was established before time began. The enemy is not replaying those moments to convict you. He is replaying them because he is terrified of what you are about to step into. He knows that every one of those seasons you think were detours were actually preparation. He knows that the silence was a classroom. He knows that the withdrawal was a refinement. He knows that the in-between you have been living in is not a waiting room. It is a launching pad. The heaviness you feel right now is not the weight of a missed destiny. It is the weight of one arriving. It is the pressure that comes right before a door opens that no man can shut. It is the tension in the atmosphere right before heaven acts. You were not forgotten. You were not overlooked. You were not disqualified. You were being formed. And what God forms, He finishes. And if that truth just landed somewhere deep in your spirit, if something in you exhaled just now because you have been carrying the weight of a lie that told you the window closed, then what I am about to share with you next was written for this exact moment in your journey. The Chosen One's blueprint holds the roadmap God designed specifically for people like you. 8 chapters that decode why your life unfolded the way it did, why the suffering came early, why the separation felt so severe, and what God is activating in this very season you are standing in. It includes the complete audiobook, so you can carry this revelation with you wherever you go, during prayer, during rest, during those quiet 3 a.m. moments when heaven seems closer than it does in the daylight. And it comes with a powerful bonus, activating your prophet mantle, for those who sense that God is not just calling them forward, but calling them to speak with authority into the lives of others. The link is in the first pinned comment below, but it will not stay there forever. Now stay with me, because what I am about to walk you through is going to show you not just that God was present in your hardest moments. It is going to show you what He was building inside you while you were convinced He had gone quiet. Many times the divine architect works in silence behind the scenes, far from the clamor of the world and the expectations of others. It's in these hushed seasons, when the noise of performance fades and the external validations cease, that the truest, most enduring structures of your soul are often laid. You might have felt an aching void, a sense of being overlooked or even forgotten, perceiving the stillness as an absence of divine activity. Yet, paradoxically, these are often the very laboratories of transformation, where God's hand is most intimately at work, sculpting, refining, and preparing you for a future you cannot yet fathom. He was not absent. He was intimately involved in the deeper work, the foundation setting, the character building that could never take place under the glare of public scrutiny or the pressure of immediate demands. He was meticulously weaving resilience into your spirit, strengthening your spiritual sinews, and embedding a depth of understanding that only quiet perseverance can cultivate. The first thing you need to understand is this: the version of yourself you have been mourning was never the final version. You have been grieving a life that was not lost. It was interrupted on purpose. There is a profound difference between a detour and a divine redirect, and the enemy has been betting everything on your inability to tell them apart. A detour might simply delay you, an unexpected turn in the road that eventually leads back to the path you were on. But a divine redirect is a complete rerouting, a recalibration of your entire trajectory, initiated by heaven itself. The enemy, with his insidious whispers, wants you to believe that this rerouting is a permanent dead end, a proof of your failure or worthlessness. He knows that if he can make you mourn long enough, if he can trick you into fastening your spirit to the past that God has already moved you from, you will stop moving forward. He knows that grief, when it is misdirected, becomes an anchor, weighing down your soul and preventing you from unfurling the sails of your future. And so he has let you sit in the wreckage of seasons that were never disasters to begin with. They were demolitions, controlled, intentional, heaven-authorized demolitions. Think of a master builder who, seeing the limitations of an old structure, brings it down not out of destruction, but out of a magnificent vision for a skyscraper that will reach higher, stand stronger, and serve a greater purpose. These demolitions, though painful, are always in preparation for something far grander. Because God never tears down what He does not intend to rebuild at a higher level, a more robust design, a more glorious expression of His original blueprint for your life. He sees beyond the rubble. He sees the potential for beauty where you only see brokenness, and He is orchestrating a spiritual renovation, clearing the ground for foundations that can bear the weight of a far greater destiny. Think of the temple in Jerusalem. When Solomon's temple, a marvel of ancient architecture and a symbol of God's presence, was destroyed, it was not the end of God's dwelling place on earth. It was the preparation for something more glorious, a prophetic foreshadowing of the new covenant, where God would dwell not in temples made with hands, but in the hearts of His people. Ezra did not walk into the rubble of that first temple and conclude that God had abandoned Israel, that His promises were nullified, or that their destiny was forever lost. No, he walked into the rubble and, driven by a divine mandate, began to rebuild. And the rebuilt temple, though it might have lacked some of the original grandeur, still stood on the same consecrated ground as the one that fell. Your life is the same. The ground beneath the ruins, the very landscape of your past disappointments and shattered expectations, is still consecrated. It is holy ground, marked by God's enduring covenant with you. The foundation of your identity in Christ, the bedrock of His promises over your life, is still intact, unshaken by the tremors of your trials. And the rebuild, dear friend, has already begun. You just have not been able to see it yet because you have been too focused on what fell, on the dust and debris of what was, to notice what is steadily, miraculously rising. It's like watching a majestic oak tree shed its leaves in winter. From a superficial glance, it might appear dead, but beneath the surface, life is preparing for an even more vibrant spring. But here is where it goes deeper. It is not just about what fell. It is about what was forged in the falling. It's about the invaluable treasures that could only be unearthed in the crucible of your deepest trials. There are things that can only be formed in a person through loss, through profound letting go, through the stripping away of everything comfortable and familiar. Not because God is cruel or delights in our suffering. God is love itself, and His heart breaks for us in our pain, Psalm 34:18. But because certain qualities of character, certain depths of compassion, certain levels of unshakable faith, and an unparalleled resilience cannot be produced any other way. You cannot manufacture in comfort what is only created in pressure. You cannot cultivate authentic empathy without experiencing your own brokenness. You cannot truly grasp the steadfastness of God's grace until you have felt utterly helpless. Diamonds do not form in open air. They are made deep underground, under immense geological weight and heat that would crush anything not meant to endure it, transforming mere carbon into something brilliantly unyielding. And if you are still here, if you survived the pressure that was meant to eliminate you, if you endured the heat that was designed to incinerate your hope, then you are the living, breathing proof that what is inside you was built to last, engineered by a divine hand for eternal purpose and unshakable strength. This is the refining fire, not a consuming one, that prepares you to reflect His light more brightly, Malachi 3:3. Consider Job. Not the sanitized, comfortable version of Job that people reference casually as a lesson in patience, but the raw, visceral version most people quietly avoid. The Job who lost everything, his children, his wealth, his health, his reputation, and then sat in silence for 7 days while his friends watched, unable to find words, a testament to the profound depth of his anguish. This was not a Job who performed his grief for an audience. He inhabited it. He went all the way down into it, into the depths of despair. He questioned, he wrestled with the inexplicable injustice. He cried out to God, demanding an audience with the Most High, longing for an answer to the why. And here's the pivotal truth. God did not rebuke him for his honesty, for his pain, for his struggle. God honored it. Because authentic engagement with your pain, real, unfiltered wrestling with the weight of your suffering, allowing yourself to feel the devastation without pretending it away, is not a lack of faith. It is, in its purest form, the highest expression of it. It's an act of profound trust to bring your rawest self before God. And God met Job not with an explanation that would satisfy his intellectual query, but with a revelation. He showed Job who he was, majestic, sovereign, beyond human comprehension. And that encounter, that glimpse of divine grandeur, changed everything, shifting Job's perspective from his pain to the power of the Almighty. You have been waiting for an explanation, yearning for the logical answers to the shattered pieces of your past. God, however, has been patiently, meticulously preparing a revelation, a divine unveiling of his character, his power, and his unwavering presence that will eclipse any need for mere explanations. And this leads us to something most people miss entirely. The place where you are standing right now, this in-between, this liminal space that feels like neither here nor there, like being suspended between two worlds, is not evidence of stagnation. It is, in fact, undeniable evidence of transition. And transition is the most spiritually active state a person can be in, even when it feels like the most spiritually silent. It's akin to the profound, unseen activity beneath the Earth's surface during winter, preparing for an explosive spring. Think of the caterpillar. It does not know it is becoming a butterfly. Inside the chrysalis, from its own limited perspective, it is utterly dissolving. Its old form, the only identity it has ever known, is breaking down, liquefying. It has no framework for what is happening to it. It cannot see the intricate formation of new wings. It cannot feel the miraculous transformation working within its very cells. It can only experience the dissolution, the terrifying loss of its former self, the sensation of its world falling apart. But the dissolution is the transformation. The breaking apart is the making new. It is the necessary vital process that precedes the unfurling of beauty and flight. What is coming next in your life will likely surprise you, because most people, when faced with this disorienting stage, spend so much energy trying to escape the chrysalis, trying to cling to their old form, or force a premature emergence, that they never allow the divine process to complete what it was designed to do, thus missing the full glory of their own metamorphosis. They resist the very process that promises their liberation and elevation, mistaking the necessary breakdown for a permanent end. Stay with me, because the next layer is the one that tends to break something open in people who are truly ready to hear it and allow it to penetrate the deeper chambers of their being. There is an agreement you have been living inside of that you did not consciously choose, but you have been honoring it with everything you do, with every internal dialogue and every hesitant step. It is the agreement that says your delay is proof of your inadequacy, that the gap between where you are and where you feel you should be, or where others perceive you should be, is a damning verdict on your worth, your capability, or even your divine calling. And this agreement, this deeply ingrained belief, did not start with you. It was handed to you, subtly, insidiously, by a world that relentlessly measures value in output, in visible achievements, in public visibility, and in relentless acceleration. It was handed to you by well-meaning but limited people who simply could not see what God was doing in your quiet, hidden seasons because they had no reference for that kind of profound, internal work. It was woven into the fabric of a system that rewards immediate performance and often penalizes the crucial, foundational stages of preparation. Because the world, in its superficiality, does not know what to do with someone who is being formed for something it cannot yet comprehend, a purpose that transcends its limited metrics. It can only see the outer shell, not the inner formation. But Paul, the apostle, understood this profound truth with an unparalleled clarity. Writing not from a grand pulpit, not from a popular platform, not from a position of visible influence or public acclaim, but from the confining walls of a Roman prison cell, he penned the liberating words, "I have learned, in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content." Philippians 4:11. He did not say, "I was born content," as if it were an inherent personality trait, nor did he say, "God instantly made me content without effort." He declared, "I have learned it." It was forged through experience, a deliberate and often arduous process. It was not a passive state, but an active posture of the heart, developed not in ease, but in confinement, in restriction, in the very places that most people flee from. The letters, the profound theological insights that would fundamentally change the understanding of the entire early church and continue to transform lives millennia later, were not written from a mountaintop of spiritual exaltation or a position of worldly freedom. They were written from chains, from a place of physical limitation and apparent powerlessness. This serves as a powerful testament that some of your greatest output, your most enduring wisdom, your most potent revelations, are being authored right now in what looks like restriction, in the very seasons that feel most confining and unproductive. The divine work is often most concentrated in the hidden, silent places. And this brings us to something I need you to sit with before we go any further, to truly allow it to sink into the marrow of your spirit. Because what I am about to share next is the thing most people skip past, the layer they glance over in their haste for answers. And it is the very thing that ultimately determines whether any of this profound truth actually lands in your life and ignites real transformation, or if it simply moves through you, leaving you feeling momentarily inspired, but ultimately unchanged. The enemy does not primarily attack your destiny through direct opposition, through a frontal assault that is obvious and alarming. Oh no, his tactics are far more subtle, far more insidious. He attacks it through imitation. He does not always come as a force against you, a clear adversary to be identified and resisted. Sometimes he comes as an almost right path, an almost true calling, an almost perfect opportunity, a door that opens too easily, requiring little sacrifice or true discernment. A voice that sounds strikingly like God's, mimicking the tone and cadence of divine leading, but one that subtly, slyly requires you to shrink yourself, to compromise your core, to diminish the fullness of your unique divine blueprint, to walk through it. And tragically, many chosen people with genuine callings, real gifts, authentic purpose woven into their very being, have found themselves years into a direction that felt right, that seemed logical, that even brought some fleeting success, but was subtly off. Not dramatically wrong, not obviously destructive. Just close enough to the real thing to satisfy the natural hunger for purpose, while quietly, meticulously leading them away from the actual heaven-ordained assignment, diverting their energy and draining their divine potential. Discernment, therefore, is not about hearing more voices or seeking more signs. It is about learning to recognize the precise, unmistakable frequency that belongs exclusively to heaven and developing the spiritual discipline of refusing to answer anything else, no matter how reasonable it sounds to your intellect, no matter how much it looks like a perfect answer to your prayers, no matter how much it promises instant gratification or ease. It's about tuning your spiritual ear to the unmistakable resonance of truth, the peace that accompanies divine alignment, and the expansion of your spirit, rather than its contraction. It is the wisdom to know that not every open door is your door. And just when you think you have navigated that complex terrain of discernment, just when you believe you've learned to differentiate between the true and the almost true, there is one more layer, one deeper truth that often remains hidden in plain sight. Stay with me, because this is where the real confrontation with your perceptions and expectations begins, where old paradigms will be challenged and new understanding can break forth. The delay you have been experiencing, this extended season of waiting, is not what you think it is. Most people frame delay as something happening to them, a withholding, a postponement, and frustrating obstacle in the path that signifies God's reluctance or forgetfulness. But what if the delay was not a gap in God's timing? What if it was, in fact, the timing itself? What if the waiting was not merely the period before your preparation, a passive interlude, but what if the waiting was the preparation? Not a pause between chapters in your life story, but an entire essential chapter in itself, filled with profound, unseen developmental work. Not dead air, not unproductive silence, but the profound, expectant stillness before the sound that changes everything. The quiet before the breakthrough, the deep breath before the divine utterance that shifts your entire reality. Abraham, the father of faith, serves as the ultimate testament to this truth. He waited a staggering 25 years between receiving God's magnificent promise of a son and its miraculous fulfillment. 25 years. And every single one of those years was not wasted time, not an empty void of inactivity. It was the meticulous, divine formation of a faith that could not only receive, but also sustain what the promise would ultimately demand. God does not just give you a destiny. He painstakingly builds you into someone who can carry it without being crushed or destroyed by its immense weight. The magnitude of what you are walking into, the glorious assignment awaiting you, required absolutely everything those quiet, delayed seasons produced in you. It required the deep humility that only comes from knowing your own limitations. It demanded the profound patience that transcends human timelines. It forged an unshakable depth of character and an unwavering knowing that when God says something, it is not subject to circumstance, to earthly setbacks, or to the fleeting opinions of others. It is truth, and it will come to pass. Coming up next, the hidden thing beneath even this, the one crucial shift that most people never make, the singular pivot that determines whether everything you just received becomes true, life-altering transformation, or if it simply remains mere information, intellectually stimulating but powerless to change your reality. Here is what I did not expect to say today, a word that bubbled up from the depths of my spirit with an undeniable urgency. But I feel it is the precise word someone in this very moment specifically needs to hear. The thing that has been blocking your breakthrough, the invisible barrier preventing the full manifestation of God's purpose in your life, is not the enemy, though he certainly plays his part. It is not your past mistakes or the trauma that lingers. It is not the people who hurt you, or the opportunities that tragically did not come through, or even the seasons that felt like devastating failure. The thing that has been standing between you and the full, unbridled expression of your divine calling is something far more subtle, far more personal, and profoundly more within your power to address and rectify. It is your relationship with your own identity. Somewhere along the way, often imperceptibly, you accepted a smaller, diminished version of yourself as the true, complete version, and this was not born out of inherent weakness. It was born out of a primal, deeply human desire for survival and protection. You learned, through the harsh lessons of life, to manage expectations, your own, and perhaps more acutely, everyone else's. You learned to qualify your gifts before you dared to offer them, to preface your talents with disclaimers. You learned to apologize for your calling, to diminish its scope or significance before you even fully stepped into it. You learned to hold back the magnificent fullness of who God inherently made you to be, because that very fullness once made people uncomfortable, once drew rejection, once cost you something precious that you simply did not want to lose again. The pain of past wounds taught you a false sense of safety and retraction. And so, slowly, painstakingly, you accommodated. You edited yourself. You gave the world a carefully curated version of yourself, one that would not threaten existing norms, would not challenge established perspectives, would not ask too much of the room or demand too much space. You became a shadow of your intended self, believing it was the only way to avoid further hurt or disappointment. But that version, as safe, as palatable, as managed as it felt, was never, ever the version God anointed. It was a compromise, a cage constructed around a wild, divine spirit. Moses, the mighty deliverer, had to grapple with this very same fracture in his identity. The man who would eventually part the Red Sea, who would stand unflinchingly before the most powerful Pharaoh on earth, who would carry the tablets of the law down from the terrifying glory of Mount Sinai. That very man stood before a burning bush, trembling, and said to the voice of the Almighty, "Who am I?" Exodus 3:11. This was not an act of genuine humility. It was a hiding place, a desperate plea born from 40 years of feeling rejected, a murderer in exile, insignificant in the vast desert. He was retreating into a smaller, past version of himself, shaped by failure and fear. And God did not comfort Moses by simply telling him, "Oh, you are enough as you are." God redirected his identity entirely. He did not affirm Moses' self-assessment. Instead, he shifted Moses' gaze from his own perceived inadequacies to the limitless power of the one who called him, declaring, "I am who I am, and I am sending you." The power, the authority, the capacity to fulfill the impossible assignment was never predicated on Moses' self-assessment or his own confidence. It was inherently rooted in whose presence he stood in and whose sovereign power was backing him. Your calling does not depend on your confidence in yourself, on your perceived strength, or on your cultivated perfection. It depends entirely, utterly, and unreservedly on your confidence in the one who called you. It is his strength made perfect in your weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. And here is the truly unexpected thing, the radical truth that reframes everything you have just received and brings it into sharp, transformative focus. The version of you that God is calling forward, the magnificent blueprint he is now activating, is not a more polished version than who you are right now. It is not a more prepared, more educated, more healed, or more refined version in the way the world understands those terms. It is simply profoundly more surrendered. Because surrender, contrary to worldly perception, is not weakness. It is not resignation. It is the highest form of activation. It is the moment you courageously stop managing your own assignment, stop striving in your own limited strength, and boldly let the author of your destiny write the next glorious chapter, not just for you, but dynamically through you. It's the release of control that unlocks unprecedented power. This is the shift. Not more effort, but more yielding to divine flow. Not more striving, but more profound trust in the unseen hand. Not more performance to earn love or acceptance, but more presence, rooted in the secure knowing of who you are in him, fully seen and fully loved. And that shift, that single, silent, internal, courageous shift, is the door you have been standing in front of, the threshold to your true, unedited, divinely anointed self. Tonight, before you sleep, in the quiet sanctuary of your heart, place your hand over your chest and speak this powerful declaration over yourself. allowing each word to resonate with the truth of your spirit. I release every agreement I made with a smaller version of myself. I break every label that was placed on me by people who could not see what heaven sees. I surrender the need to manage my own calling, and I yield to the one who authored it. I am not behind. I am not disqualified. I am not forgotten. I am formed. I am chosen. I am exactly where the hand of God has placed me, and I step forward now, not in my own strength, but in the authority of the one who called me before the foundations of the earth were laid. My delay was not a detour. My silence was not abandonment. My in-between was not wasted. It was weight. And I carry it now as proof that what God builds in the dark can withstand anything the light will bring. I am ready. I receive it. And I walk forward now, fully, freely, without apology. If this message confirmed something your spirit already knew, drop the word "ready" in the comments right now. Not for me, for you. As a declaration, as a stake in the ground, as the moment you said yes to what God has already said yes to in you. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. Because some messages are not just for the person who finds them. They are sent through that person to the one they love.